All right, welcome back. Hope you grabbed your coffee and are relaxed because this is part 2 of episode 2 for Tech for the Nerds. Just a reminder that you're welcome to go to this Prezi link to view the Prezi. And let's go ahead and jump in. So if you remember, we were back at our spreadsheet and we were showing you guys the answers that we had. Now what you want to do is you're going to want to build your answer sheet. And now this will be provided to you, but what I like to do is just give you a tour of how I built this so that you can go through it and see it and manipulate it and practice with it and things like this. It will be shared with you guys. So what I did is I added a new sheet, so add sheet, and I called it 2013 because it's going to be the 2013 reporting period. So let's click on that, and I want to show you guys, I modeled it after what it kind of looks like when you report your data. So let's go to our reporting, our performance output indicators, and just show that sheet. So you see we have the students up front, the teachers, and then the public, and then it has the number of participants and the contact hours. That's the same for over here. It has the students, the teachers, the public, contact hours, number of participants. The difference that you'll notice is that there's a date here, which I'll show you why, that encompasses our reporting period. Now this is different for everyone, so you can modify it accordingly. But what I want to show you is how this is pulling the information from this sheet. So when somebody inputs or submits a form, this will automatically update because there's coding or formulas, because you have to imagine an Excel spreadsheet. There's formulas into this sheet that says, okay, there's a new form submitted. What's the new information? Does it match this? Does it match this? And I'll show you what I mean. So let's start with pre-K. So these are pre-K students, and we want to count how many pre-K students did we have between this date and this date. All right. So here's the crazy, if you look up here, here's the really, really crazy formula. And I want to walk you guys through it, because you have to think about a computer will only do what you tell it to do. And so you have to really break out the logic of what you want so that it accurately parses out your data. So let me walk you guys through this. So like I said, what we want to know is how many students that were pre-K attended between July 1st, 2013 and December 31st, 2013. So how you do that is, and this is kind of how this formula reads. This formula reads, filter this information. This is put on there, the if error is put on there. If there's an error, it will just produce a 0. It won't produce, if there's an error, it won't produce error text, so which is something you want. And then we tell it to sum. So we're telling it to sum these responses that have been filtered based on the criteria we want it filtered on. So let's walk through this. So filter. This first part of the filter is the actual thing that you want to filter out. So if we go to form responses, which is this sheet, form responses, and we look at column I. So let's go to form responses, column I. Form responses, column I. Column I is how many individuals were in attendance. So that correlates to how many students were in attendance. So going back here, column I, and now we set the criteria. So the criteria is form responses CC must be greater than or equal to B2. So B2, this cell is B2, which what I like is it's even color coded to help out. So this means that whatever's in column CC must be greater than this cell right there. So that cell says July 1st, 2013. So it has to be greater than July 1st, 2013. Because if we go to form responses again, we look at CC. CC is here, which is regarding the date that the event took place. Okay. Now though, we have to but we have to set another criteria because it's going to find everything that's after July 1st. Well, we don't want everything after July 1st because we only want it within July 1st to December 31st. So this next one says, all right, form CC, form responses, column C, which is the event date, it has to be less than or equal to December 31st, 2013, because you see the orange C2 correlates to C2 up here. All right. Next criteria. So what we're asking is, we're saying count what's in column I, and it needs to be between July 1st and December 31st, 2013, and it needs to be, the next one is form responses HH equals A3. Well, A3 is students, and this is a merged cell, that's why it looks kind of weird, but this whole cell is one cell and it's students. So the word students is in here, and you have to be very careful because what will really hang you up on this kind of stuff is you have to match the exact text that you're asking for. So let's say if I had students with a space, that's different. Or if I had student without the S, that's different. And it will mess up and not work appropriately because what it's looking for is it's looking to filter where the answer is students. So let me show you. So we go to responses HH, form responses HH. Form responses HH, the type of individuals receiving instructions, students. All right. So it has to match that. So going back here, so it has to be a student, and the next thing is it has to be a student that is in pre-K. So form responses GG, if we go to GG, GG is what type of teachers or students, and we said pre-K. So if we read this again, what we're looking for is we want it to count or add up how many times, or all the responses that are in how many students, the student column, based on the date, based on whether it's a student, and based on whether it's pre-K student. All right, so we push enter, it will automatically give us that number. All right, so, and that's how each one of these are done. And it's really simple. Once you build the first one, you're able to copy and paste accordingly, and it'll do it for you automatically, which is really nice. All right. And we'll warn you, and just a little tip, when you're copying and pasting, you have to make sure to keep things, some things have to stay and some things have to be able to move. For example, if I'm copying down this, the only thing that I want to move is I want for the pre-K to move down as I copy down, but I want everything else to stay the same, meaning I want the dates to be the same, I want the students to be the same, the only thing I want different is the pre-K. So what you have to do, and this is the same with Excel, and this is a really cool trick that I learned way back when, which helped me out a lot, is if you put these little dollar signs around where you want it, it'll lock it. So for example, I've locked C2, meaning that C2 is locked, and it's locked going vertical. However, there's not a dollar sign next to the C, so it's not locked going horizontal. And this is a little complicated, but if you practice it, you'll definitely understand what's going on. All right, so that's how all of these are done. All right, and the same with this. The difference with this one is it's the same formula, except now we're still looking for the same dates. So if we scroll up, the dates are still highlighted. However, now we're looking for the teachers as opposed to students. And so we're looking for teachers that are pre-service teachers. All right. Next is the volunteers in a serve an education role. All right, that one's going to form responses MM, which counts the volunteers, the quantity of volunteers, and it's based on date. And what we've done, and this is, I recommend using this sparingly because you have to change it all the time if you constantly update. So, but this one says form responses DD have to equal the text education program, because what we're looking for is volunteers that serve in an education role, not necessarily volunteers that serve in a CTP role. So we wanted to sparse the difference between that. So if we look, form responses DD, that's education program. So if it said coastal or it said general admission and there was volunteers in that, or if it said coastal training program and there were volunteers in that, it wouldn't count those volunteers. So I mean, for example, we could do that where could we do that? We could do that right here. So we could put the date right there. However, you want this to be very user-friendly. So you want to be able to change this date as opposed to having to go through all the formulas and change the date here. And that's why I say use this text stuff really sparingly, because it's easier to change this as opposed to going through all the formulas and changing that. Okay. The next one is the public outreach activities. This one's a little bit modified, and because you have to remember, we're also counting those teachers and chaperones and parents that attend the program but are just there for the students. And you're also counting the people that you reach through your public outreach activities. So what you do is, and you have to break it out. So first we need to count how many people do we see in our public outreach activities, which is going to be this formula right here. Then you need to add that to how many people, how many teachers, chaperones, and parents did we see in the education program. All right, and you add those. So that's what this is. This sum is adding people in outreach programs and then the teachers, chaperone, parents that we see during the education programs. So it's adding those two. So that's different. And then community education is the same, where we're just filtering the responses. We're looking for how many people attended a community education program between these two dates. All right. Now we're going to get into hours in a little bit, or the next one, because hours is a little bit more complicated, and I'll explain why in the next one. So with that being said, thank you very much, and quickly go grab a nice calming glass of tea or some coffee or some food, so nobody's hangry around here. All right, and we're going to jump into explaining even deeper the hours, because it requires a little bit more, but I promise knowing it definitely will benefit you. All right, so thank you very much, and stay tuned for more.